Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kim Schmidt. I'm the executive editor of Farm Equipment Magazine. Welcome to our latest digital demo, Control the Controllable, turning service bottlenecks into profit power plays with Modern. Today's presenter is Ryan Young, Director of Sales with Modern. With over 15 years of experience spanning dealership operations, consulting, and technology integration, Ryan brings a unique, well-rounded perspective to the table. Having worked in every department of the dealership, he understands the real-world challenges and opportunities that dealers face today. His passion lies in building transparent, process-driven teams that focus on delivering an exceptional customer experience. Thanks for joining us, Ryan. Before Ryan gets started, just a couple of housekeeping items. On your screen, there's a control panel with a Q&A icon. You can submit questions here at any time during the presentation. And Ryan said he would answer your questions as we go along. So as soon as you've got one, feel free to enter your question and I will interrupt Ryan and ask for you. And then as always, we are recording today's webinar and it'll be shared with everyone who registered in the event you want to rewatch it later. With that, we're ready to get started. Thanks again for joining us, and you can take it away, Ryan.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate everyone taking the time to join the call here and kind of just talk about something on the fixed operations side that kind of gets overshadowed quite a bit in today's world with so much focusing on sales and marketing. Really wanting to focus on the one thing we can't control with all the unknowns out there right now with different things from the tariffs to limited inventory, things like that, that hopefully it doesn't get to the same levels of COVID, but where you're able to focus primarily on making sure your service, parts, and rental side is operating at full capacity and giving customers the experience that they're really looking for. And you'll hear me use the term Amazon effect quite a bit. And it's just something that it's the world we live in today and something that we've got to be able to maximize. And there's tools out there like Modern, different other tools out there that give that same ability and that transparency that customers are looking for, that they get to select what they're wanting, not thinking they're just being sold, but also maintaining the protection and ability to, protect the dealership and understand that you're not going to, be liable for a he said, she said case that cost us all a ton of money every single year. And so I'll get started. And again, feel free to ask questions as you go. Got no problem stopping and asking questions. Don't want to have to hear my voice the whole time. So if someone wants to interject, please do. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Obviously, right now, one of the biggest topics, just was on a different webinar about 2-3 weeks ago, was about tariffs, taxation, this unknown category that none of us have any idea. And this was guys from the E&Y sector, which I'll call some of the smartest tax people on the planet. And they had absolutely no idea. It was a bunch of maybe this, maybe that. And that's one thing that if any of us were around for COVID know that it was a very strenuous, stressful, very lucrative time as well. However, just with these tariffs being in place and rising costs on the inventory, it's going to really put a strain on the sales department, especially if you're a very sales-focused dealership that sells a lot of volume. Having to be able to find a way to keep that same number coming in the checkbook every single year. You can't control what the inventories are going to be from the manufacturers. We can't control what the pricing or tariffs are going to look like. One thing we can control, though, is our fixed ops department and making sure it's operating at a very high level, maintaining just that ability to look into the long-term future of rentals. Guys that used to buy vehicles on a regular basis, to add to the fleet, might be looking at renting these vehicles with the cost rising. I've seen some as high as 10 to 12% going up already, and we're not even really into the thick of it yet. Being able to understand that customers are going to be holding on to vehicles much, much longer. And that's going to force them to be serviced them longer, getting a lot more customer pay where, a warranty ticket, a customer really doesn't need an approval on. You get it approved, you get paid, you move on these customer pay tickets. They really want to understand where their money is going, why they're writing you a much larger check than what they originally anticipated, and being able to just communicate with them throughout that entire process and make sure that your bay is not being tied down. Effective labor rate is a huge KPI in the fixed ops world that, you can charge whatever you want at the door, but what you're actually taking home is the magical number. Are you taking home 80% of that? Are you taking home 90% of that? If you're taking home 60, 70% of that, there's room for growth that can be a huge number at the end of the month when you're talking, $1 million+ in a lot of these service departments that they're turning on a revenue side. An extra 10% of that helps make up a tremendous amount of the lost sales revenue or the ability to make more money out of the parts and service departments. And it's just something that it's not really becoming an option with the way things are going to go. It's becoming a mandatory. The Amazon effect of customers wanting everything instantly. People don't want to be called anymore. People don't want to be, you know, bugged 10 times trying to wait on hold. People want that simple, easy response to be able to see it on their phone, click yes, no, yes, send a signature, and be done with it. Also helps protect your house on that side of it, where when you have a customer come in and say on a phone call they approved a $12,000 ticket, and that's a low number, and they come and say, oh, I thought it was seven. Well, that magical signature, a lot of these tools out there give you a timestamp, date, and person who signed that signature, and gives you that ability to stand your ground and say, no, this was approved at this time, at this date, by this person. How would you like to pay? On the customer side of it, I mean, obviously, a big focus is how the dealers make money, but keeping your customers happy, especially during this turmoil time where prices are going to rise. Customers are never happy when the vehicle they bought 5 years ago is now, 25% higher, whether it's in the automotive sector, the marine sector, the ag, or the dirt sector. No one likes paying more for the same vehicle they just bought, especially if there's no real big changes. And coming into service, giving the customers exactly what they want and a faster time frame makes it easier for them. These customers are using, whether it's in dirt or ag, 90% of these customers are using these vehicles to make money. The longer the delay happens, whether it's a day, it's 2 days, it's 3 days that you had to play phone tag and back and forth, trying to get that approval with the right person, or trying to get them on the phone, or then they're calling you back and you're on the other line talking. It causes them delays. And, when we get down to the service side of it, most regions have 5 to 6 places they can go and get this vehicle serviced. If you're not giving them that instant gratification effect of being able to text the customer, see a transparent invoice, see pictures or videos of what's broken, and really not feel like they're being upsold, but really being transparent and being sold what they actually really need, they're going to go back to that customer because they really like that experience. We average roughly under 2 minute approval ticket time from when an invoice is sent out with an inspection and photos for the customer to select yes or no. It allows your service writers a much faster, streamlined approach. You're not having service bays tied down and for maybe a day or two, or having to waste the time of pulling that machine in, pulling that machine out. Most of these machines coming in aren't as simple as starting them up and firing them out and driving them right back in. A lot of them have to be towed in, dragged in, and that just takes up a lot of time that really hurts that effective labor rate side of it. And that's where you can really hone in on effectively maximizing the time that machine's in the bay. If you don't have to take that machine out before you get the approval, how much more machines can you get through that time? How much more work can get done? How much happier your tech's going to be? But like I said, main thing is for that customer, they're able to see everything in real time on their phone, approving it, not approving it, making it easier, and allows your service advisors. By no means am I saying phone calls are going to become a thing of the past. These guys still have got to call customers. You still want to give them that update, but those small random little updates, hey, parts are ordered, hey, parts on back order, those ones that no one likes, having that instant message sent off to the customer gives them that peace of mind that you actually know what's going on, versus them calling at the end of the day, waiting on hold for 15 minutes, and then finding out essentially that, hey, you know what, we're still on backward, let me go check that out for you. They lose trust in the dealership. They get frustrated. And it's really nothing that we did as a dealership. We did nothing wrong. We just, worked with the tools we had. And it is what it is, unfortunately, but it loses trust with the customer versus being notified up ahead of time. I think Amazon does it better than anything. If you have a delay with Amazon, you know about it because you get a text message, your app goes off, and everything, and it stinks, but you feel like you're not sitting there on some other companies where you order something and you're waiting and waiting, and you have to go check FedEx 4 times, and you find out that, hey, they don't know where it's at. Amazon keeps it down to a science on keeping that customer updated. I don't even think Amazon has a phone number to call. I've never tried calling them, but I don't think you can really even call Amazon for that effect. And being able to do that same exact effect for the customer, where the only reason they have to be called is because they have a question about something, or want to decline, and you want to give them a call and maybe try to re-upsell that a second time, and really help them understand what they're missing out on or the advantageous advantages to doing it at this time. Giving you that ability really maximizes both the customer's time as well as the dealership time. And like I said, when happy customers come back, they refer more business to you. And when that time does go to, buy that new machine, hopefully when these tariffs go away or disappear or inventory, manages to balance out a bit more, they're going to come back to where they service. People buy from all over. They generally try to service in one, maybe two stores because they want that relationship, because it's not something that happens once every 2 or 3 years. These machines are in on average 3 times a year, sometimes higher, sometimes lower. But that's where you can really build that long-term relationship with the customer by making their service, parts, or rental transaction as seamless as possible, and just makes that customer really feel like they have faith and trust in you because you're not hiding anything. It's not a phone call when they came in for XYZ that they thought was going to be 400, and you call them saying, "Hey, this, and this is broke. You want to go ahead and fix that for $13,000." Versus a nice, clean picture, video, text message that comes across saying, "Hey, this is what we found. Here's the evidence behind it." Really builds that transparency and trust with that customer, knowing like, "Hey, you know what? My local car store just did it with me on tires. I didn't think I needed tires. I had no idea I needed tires. However, they sent me a video walk around with the mechanic taking the tire measure and walking around on all 4 sections. And it was like, you know what? Those are really low and I'm getting ready to go on a road trip. Yeah, I should go ahead and replace those tires." Had he not sent me that video, I probably would have held off, said, "You know what? I'll check it when I get home," done the research myself, probably price shopped out some tires, maybe try to save myself a couple $100. But because it was done right then and there and done so cleanly, it was kind of a no brainer on, you know what? Yeah. But then heaven forbid I did decline that ticket. That dealership is protected for the fact that they sent me saying my tires are below safety inspection level. If I drove off, got in a wreck, and I said, "Oh, hey, the dealership never told me about those tires being bad and caused that accident," they have something to fall back on it. So just some of these things that with the world we live in today, there's both pros and cons to the approval and the decline, because they both have the same weight in gold when you have it saved on a cloud-based system. Top dealers are laser focused on obviously communicating with customers, which makes their ability to get work in and out faster, makes their experience much, much better and faster and more streamlined. You, as an upper management or management of that department, you can tell where every single ticket is. You're not scrolling through some guy's phone log or trying to look for a note on his desk when everything is in one main system. Off of whether it's the DMS, whether it's other tools, but being able to centralize, focus all the notes and everything inside of one base tool that's saved to the cloud, being able to review that later on and tracking, the timeline of that ticket, knowing when it's behind, when it's delayed, when it's ahead of schedule, really helps upper management really create a focus, and you become proactive versus reactive. You're not finding out about a bad ticket going bad or going delayed longer because you got that nasty phone call from that customer. You're seeing everything in real time with real live updates, which makes everything so much more streamlined, from the advisor to the technician to the manager to the general manager or fixed ops director over the group on a group setting, and being able to really manage from a 35,000-foot overview and knowing exactly where all the good, bad, and ugly is all at, knowing who's utilizing the tools, who's not utilizing the tools, who's actually playing the playbook that you're setting out. And that's what's allowing these dealerships to operate, grow, and make more on even less revenue. We've got several stores in our network that their revenue line is down, but their profit is up a couple points from the previous year, even though they're down close to 10% on revenue, because they're streamlining their process and making it simpler. They're turning work faster. They're getting more upsell. They're getting the ability to be more transparent with the customer at a faster timeline and able to maximize the opportunities they do have and continue to grow as the industry allows us to. Again, any questions, feel free to ask. I'm happy to answer as we go. But like I said, these instant and visual approvals are so huge to customers that allow them to be able to physically see that, look on their phone, and text and email always sounds like it's the exact same thing. It is pretty wild that on our software, across the entire group of our close to 400 locations, our text message is going to respond in under 2 minutes, and our emails are taking close to 44 minutes to respond to. And they both come to the same phone. It's just incredible on that text message. For whatever reason, people live on their phones. They look at their phone and they don't look at their email, or it gets put into an email file and they have too many emails on their phone. I was very shocked at that KPI. I assumed it was going to be within minutes of each other. And to find out how powerful the text messages are was absolutely incredible. And just, that's a huge difference in, 2 minutes to 44 minutes on a response time. And it just shows that power of text message and instant, and people be able to do it on the fly and look at an approval on their phone, call with a quick question versus having to be called, told, then asking for everything to be sent over, waiting for the phone call back and forth. All of a sudden you're taking a 5 to 10 minute process of one-stop phone call to essentially possibly 45 minutes on a good time if you're calling each other back and forth, with a wait the whole time of any dealership, or possibly even missing each other for a whole day because the timeline just didn't line up for that customer to call you back, or they got into a bad service area. Makes it to where everything can be streamlined in a much faster approach, allowing dealerships to maximize their opportunities in a much streamlined, more quicker approach, essentially, and allows for just a better experience from both the dealer and the customer side. Like I said, when you take control of these, here's what happens. Like I said, it's some of the same notes that I already did mention about. But like I said, these text messages are answered within 2 minutes. The increase in profit is obviously a huge amount. Revenue is obviously a big thing. Revenue gets tied with any kind of KPI of effective labor rate. And if your effective labor is raising and your revenue is raising, you're making a lot more money if you can at least raise your, because revenue, we can't always control who's all bringing in the machines, but we can control our effective labor rate. And that's on a scale of whether you're doing 100,000 or you're doing 5 million in revenue through the service department on a monthly basis. Whether it's 5 points, it's 10 points, it's 25 points and upgraded an effective labor rate. That is a huge number in value that grows no matter what your revenue is. But allowing you to also upsell cleaner, more transparently, which is a little bit easier right now with most of this work being warranty for most of the stores we talk to. But as these people start to hold on to these machines much longer, you're going to start to get into that customer pay range. And that's where upsells are a little bit trickier. You're dipping into their pocketbook, not the OEM's pocketbook. And that's where you can really maximize that ability to give that customer zero reason to say no to it when it's needed, and it benefits the customer and is allowing them to get back to work faster, stay at work longer, and not have to bring that machine right back in. And fewer phone calls and service means their advisors are upselling. They're doing things at a more effective rate. They're actually being able to do what they do best versus taking phone calls and chasing down parts and chasing down, where's this at with this technician? Or, hey, did you have that photo that you took 4 days ago? With everything saved in one system, it makes life so much easier. And then going back into the warranty side of it, when you take control of having all aspects of that tied into the cloud, as long as that tool has a PDF inspection available, for like Bobcat, Vermeer, I know has a PDF warranty inspection. I'm sure several other brands do. I'm not going to go through the whole list. But when you're able to put that into a tool like Modern, which we're able to do, you're able to maximize that ability to drag and click and make that PDF warranty claim a streamlined process, which avoids any of the delays on warranty where, unfortunately, whenever you get a warranty delay or the OEM calls and has a question about why they're paying a ticket, it's never the next day. It's never 4 hours later. It's 5 to 10 days later, right when it's getting close, of course, to that, window where they're not going to pay you. And you're hunting down every little person that hadn't got involved in that ticket, trying to find that photo, trying to find this, when everything's saved in one source on the cloud and you have a good workflow process with the technicians and the advisors on saving these photos, it makes it to where it's very, very streamlined to where the warranty admin can have the warranty claim filed, and roughly half the time. I've never actually tracked the exact amount of it because not all of our stores use the warranty claim process side. However, just spending 15 years in the store and having watched enough of my P&Ls get hit because we, had warranty that got unpaid. I can assure that having a tool that has an inspection built into it is going to make that lady or that guy's job much easier, much more streamlined when they have all the information right there to click, drag, and get sent off within hours after that ticket's closed versus days. And just helps close that window of opportunity, making it that much larger to capture and maximize that ability to get paid on your warranty. No one likes warranty work, that unpaid warranty line on any P&L, and it is not a fun one, and it's not one that's easy to explain to the owner on or your general manager on why that one didn't get, because it's generally one of the largest ones, never one of the small tickets, and it's one that hurts everyone's pocketbook, and that's not fun for anybody. And like I said, just being able to maximize the technician's time when most of these technicians are flat rate, they're able to maximize their time by effectively upselling, effectively getting more hours without having to worry about where's this machine, is it out, where'd it go, killing their flat rate time. And happy technicians don't leave. And with the ability and how hard technicians are to get right now, keeping the technicians happy, I think, is everyone's core focus. And that's a whole different category of technicians and the need we have for them. But keeping them happy and keeping them, being able to make more money, make your technician staff happier, which makes your advisors happier. No one wants to learn a new technician. No one wants to learn a new advisor. No one wants to go move that heavy toolbox to and from another shop. Keeping those technicians happy with a very simple, easy to use tool and process that makes them more money is going to help benefit everyone in the shop from the bottom up.
Brian, we've got a question.
Yes.
Does Modern support WhatsApp and languages other than English?
It's a great question. We do support French and Spanish, and we use a Twilio. And so we did have one store that asked to do WhatsApp, and so it can be integrated very easily. We have not currently done it just because we've mainly focused on the continental US and Canada and Mexico. But just like Twilio is an online service like WhatsApp, it could easily be integrated. And then we have French and Spanish currently being used on our tool. What language was he looking for, or she?
They didn't say, but if you want to go ahead and type in what the language you were looking for, I will share that.
I don't see why not. I think just like Spanish and German have a lot of different dialects, it would be something that the tool is completely customizable and build out on an integration level with the store. So as long as we had someone that could help us make sure the language doesn't, I don't want to run it through ChatGPT by any means, all joking aside, where it doesn't match the dialect. But when we did with Spanish, we normally have someone sit in because we have Florida Spanish, which is much more Cuban dialect, and then Spanish and Texas, which is a little bit more of the Hispanic Mexico descent side. And so both of the stores that we have set up there took about 25 minutes with someone in the store to completely update the system to that language. And so I don't see why we couldn't do German. Then it's back onto the customers. The farmers, the guys in the dirt world, they're not waiting, and neither should we. If they're not getting what they want, they're going to go looking somewhere else. We should be doing the same thing on the proactive side of finding tools and finding ways to maximize the ability to make our shops more Amazon-like. I hate to use that term because it's probably one of my biggest frustrations of, guys coming into my store when they wanted to buy a part and saying, I'm like, oh, it'll be 3 to 5 this day. It's like, well, Amazon can get it to me in 2. It's like, well, thanks, Amazon. I appreciate it. However, Amazon doesn't get that person if there's a problem to help you fix it, and building that relationship and having that ability to give the customer exactly what they want to where they feel like it's Amazon with an extra day really helps benefit that relationship long term. And I can't imagine Amazon's going to get into the dirt and ag world anytime soon. But then again, they're now selling cars. So you just never really know what they're going to get into. Amazon's just a wild west when it comes to the tech world. And every time you say he can't do something, he somehow managed to do it. And so it's just something that the quicker we can get to as a group from the dirt and ag world to maximizing the customer's transparency level and feeling that they're getting this experience. Caterpillar and John Deere stores are getting a very similar experience already, from a modern like tool and then a different version of modern. And so they're both very already used to it. The other brands being able to step up and focus on those brands and focus on giving that customer that exact same experience really helps level up those brands to playing at the same exact playing field, and not feeling like, John Deere and Cat are always the two bad guys out there. And so being able to just give those clear approvals avoids those he said, she said bad cases where even when you win, you never really win. If the customer feels like they, took an L on the chin because they decided that they ended up paying the ticket, but they really didn't think they approved it or they had no record of it being approved, customer's still leaving with a bad taste in their mouth. Where when you're able to back up it with data and evidence that, hey, XYZ person, that person's going to be mad at that person, not at you for signing that approval. And it gives you that transparency and way to protect yourself, as well as on the decline. Heaven forbid that customer does decline something that they should have fixed. And then they call you 2 weeks later because they're now stuck on the side of a hill or in the back of their farm, 300 acres deep and pissed off. And it's like, well, Mr. Risk customer, you remember this conversation we had and I told you we should have fixed this. It's a lot easier when you can bring up that data point to show, hey, we offer to fix this at this point. Would you like me to do it now? And by the way, here's your tow bill as well. But no, it gives you that ability to really just protect your house, both for the approvals and the declines. And you're not chasing people around trying to find all these answers. I spent a lot of time in the dealership and I was by no means, the most organized guy in the world. And if you go look at 90% of the desks in and around the service department, finding something or finding a note, being able to fill in and answer a question for an off guy was most of the time, hey, let me call that person and I'll get you an update. Having tools like Modern, there's other versions of this out there, of course. I'm not just going to, it's the whole idea of tech advising and solutions for the advisors and the dealership that have it where you can click into that RO very quickly, see the entire conversation and one screen, know exactly where it's at, and be able to update that customer where they're not having to be put on hold or told, oh, your advisor's off today, call back tomorrow. You can easily fill in, the manager can fill in, another advisor can quickly answer that question, and just makes it to where that customer never really is put on hold or never told to be called back. Everything is at their fingertips and makes life so much simpler, makes the customer's life simpler, which in return gets referrals, repeat business, and then obviously the big cycle of going back and buying that new machine, which is, why most of us are in this business and the sales world kind of operates and runs it. And the service unfortunately gets told that they, are the ones that are always there to help clean up all the messes. And it's a shame because there's so much revenue that's left on the table in the service department. And it's such a huge opportunity to really show why the service department can be the backbone of the store and really run the ship with tools and ability to maximize their KPIs and their effective labor rate. Like I said, I spent 15 years in the store, and for the first 10 was a sales finance focused person that tried to run from the service department any chance I got, and I got very fortunate to have a great mentor that really opened my eyes to the fixed ops side and really seeing how much money I was leaving on the table by just trying to outsell problems, and really dive in on streamlining and making a process for the service department and watching that revenue line tick up. And when I had a bad sales month, that really didn't affect the P&L as much as 6 months prior when I had no fixed ops understanding other than, they fix things when it breaks. And customers always seem to be mad in that area. It's a huge tool and a huge advantageous advantage to be able to not have to worry about always hitting that sales number, always chasing that mythical number that the OEM puts out there that makes it difficult and grows on you every year that you can't control. You can't control the inventory. The one thing you really can control is your service, parts, and your rental side of it, and maximizing every opportunity you get because they're going to be there regardless. Because people have to get the machines fixed. People are going to need rentals if these costs keep getting way out of control. And then even on the parts side, being able to sell over the counter parts as people keep machines longer and have an in-house technician, being able to communicate, the parts customers especially have the opportunity to go shop anywhere. When you give them one of the best experiences ever, they're just going to keep coming back to you. And that's what you really want to focus on, is just how can we keep these customers from waiting and give them zero reason to not want to come back to us. Kind of just one of our big things, whether it's work or dirt, and farm smarter, serve faster, win bigger. When our customers can farm smarter and get served faster, we both win, and it's a win-win. And it's kind of a big thing with these. This is not the automotive world. This is not the marine world. This is a huge relationship-based business that these customers are working with these machines, whether it's dirt or ag, and they really rely on their dealership to get them back up and running, because every day that machine's in their shop, they're losing money or spending more money on a rental, or delaying a job that's delaying them on getting paid. And so you can both win faster and win smarter, and work as a team together. It makes a great relationship that allows our customers to have no reason to not go anywhere else, and allowing them to just really feel transparent and a part of the decision and understanding what they're being upsold. It's an untapped profit that just, we all forget about. We think, we got the best guys on the phone. I'll put any tool up against the best phone guy on the phone. When you can give transparency and clear photo expectation of why something needs to get fixed, it's going to beat out any of the best guys on the phone, just simply because it's transparent and it gives customers that trust factor. The dealerships, unfortunately, we get a terrible rap because about 5% of the entire group around the country of all dealerships give everyone else a terrible reputation. Why not skip right past that overcoming objection right off the bat of being untrusted by just saying like, hey, here's an update, here's your screen, gives you everything you need, and we're going to send you photos and videos of what's broken. And it really just makes that customer set at ease, knowing, hey, if it's not broken, they're not going to, they're not going to try to sell me something. They're going to just show me what's really broken. And giving that evidence to them really allows for just a streamlined process and a no-brainer upsell, whether it's warranty or customer pay. And like I said, Modern, we're one of the leaders on that side of our tool. We're always integrating and adding things to it and allowing ourselves to really work with our customers to develop and maximize and make it simpler, from the technician side to the advisor side to the reporting side for the upper and lower management teams, to just make it to where you can see everything all in one screen. And it's a very simple tool to use, and it allows for those customers, for the dealerships, our customers, to maximize every single opportunity without slowing down the process and speeding it up. So I've done quite a bit of talking. Like I said, I'm very passionate about the fixed ops world and just that ability to maximize every opportunity as we get to this weird time frame of tariffs, and just the, having worked through COVID in the dealership and watching inventories fluctuate that made you want to pull your hair out, and not understanding when things are coming in, the $1 million question of all of a sudden something got dropped off and it was the wrong 7 machines that you ordered. Being able to really control what you can control in these, unknown times. I don't think we'll ever get back to the COVID levels of craziness, but with the way these tariffs have bounced all over the place, it's still unknown. I'm going to bank on my controllables and make sure my service, parts, and rental side is maximizing at full capacity. And tools like Modern really help make that happen. And just want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen in, and happy to answer any more questions we have.
Yes, we do have a few more questions, and we do have time. So I encourage anyone else who has questions as we go to drop them in the Q&A box. So I guess first off, Ryan, how does a tool like Modern's work with or replace an ERP or DMS system that a dealer might currently have in place? Can you kind of explain the relationship between the two?
So they work hand in hand. It's not a DMS or ERP tool replacement by any means. It is an add-on to whether it's e-Emphasis, it's Microsoft 365, EBS, IntelliDealer, Vital Edge. It adds on and automatically pulls all the data from that work order, that parts ticket, or that rental agreement over to Modern, to where you can communicate with the customer. It pulls over how they want to be communicated and allows for it to just be all streamlined and able to be pushed from the DMS system over to Modern. allowing for a very simple and easy communication with all the live data. It takes about 20 seconds for it to pull over from the ERP system. So definitely not trying to replace any of that. You still want to keep the accounting people in the office happy. And so you still close the ticket out through the ERP system. It's just an add-on ability to communicate and give you that, clear, easy internal and external communication from the internal team side to the external side with the customer. And you can actually talk to up to 4 customers on the same repair order for those larger ticket items, being able to maximize, when you have some of those bigger tickets that you're going to need a higher level approval, you can group up to 4 people on those messages, which makes it really easy and streamlines that process for those bigger tickets.
All right. And then for a dealership that maybe is already running at 80 to 90% efficiency, can this tool still work for them? How does it help improve it even more for a dealer like that?
When you're running at that efficient level, not going to come in and try to tell you that you're not doing anything wrong, because you're obviously crushing it and those percentage levels. It'll still help streamline when revenues drop. It still gives you that transparency and that protection piece. That's really, really important on just, the he said, she said, the warranty, ability of, maximizing your warranty area line, maximizing those he said, she said cases. And that's really where, if you're running at those high of numbers, it's, by no means you want to reinvent the wheel, but just giving you those extra layers of protection for the future and longevity is where modern would really come into play.
Okay. And then earlier you had mentioned how you made a comment about not totally eliminating phone calls from the dealership. So do you have any advice for dealers on how to kind of balance those phone skills the service advisor still needs to have and still be good at that part of their job with some of the texting abilities that this adds in and kind of making them both work?
Yeah, so like when I do training for any of our new locations, one of the biggest things I focus on is your phone skills are still going to be primarily used for the customer that declines the upsell. You still want to then call them and explain what's going on, really being able to do it, but you're able to use those photos that the customer's already seen to maximize that ability to, review and go over and really give them a full understanding. You don't have to call the customer that approves everything. And so it's still by no means eliminating phone calls. It's just making the phone calls much more targeted, much more selective, and not getting bogged down with the simple status updates that can automatically be fired out through tools like Modern as they get updated. Hey, your parts are on order. Parts have been arrived, vehicles being worked on, vehicles ready for delivery. You take out those 5 phone calls, you saved yourself at the minimum 12 minutes of time throughout that work order alone. And on a bad one, probably an hour of phone tag with that customer. And so that's where we want to say we eliminate phone calls. We're eliminating the dead, wasted time phone calls to where they can really spend time maximizing those very strategic, very well-placed sales calls and doing what they do best. And that's upselling and selling off of the phone when needed. But like I said, it's more to just eliminate those wasted phone calls that just bog down a service department, a parts department, especially on just, hey, did my part arrive? Did my part arrive? Is it on back order? Eliminating all of those just consistently ongoing phone calls allows for them to do what they do best and sell over the phone versus having to just rely on getting bogged down and being exhausted with phone calls that are essentially irrelevant and not helping move that work order along or that parts order ticket along the way, and missing those phone calls from those customers that are calling in trying to buy a new part or trying to get a new service, scheduled, or trying to answer a question on an upsell and have a question about that. It's allowing you to focus your phone call time on more strategic phone calls than just the ones that are, wasted time on customers asking or, trying to get an update that they could have got on a text message at 8 a.m. that morning.
Okay. And then are there any limitations on which business system that you can integrate with?
Nope, we have 0 limitations. We've connected to Microsoft, EBS, eEmphasis, IntelliDealer, and we're a cloud-based integration. And so it's a very streamlined process. It takes about 2 to 4 weeks to get fully integrated, just to really dial into making sure it's pulling all the data the customer wants to maximizing the tool. It's, we don't just turn it on and say good luck. We really try to customize each location to giving the data points that are important to that, individual dealership, integrating different languages in that time frame, and just really making sure the tool hits the ground running the way you want it to be seen. So the advisors, technicians, and management see it in the same way they're used to seeing it in the ERP system. So it's not just a delay of, learning knowledge.
And then when you get things set up, is it limited to, I guess, who is receiving the text? So is it only a service advisor? I guess, how do you avoid too many people getting it and there being, is it everyone's job or no one's job type situation?
No, it's a great question. And so it's it's tied by the work order. And so whoever is on that work order would get a notification of the message, whether it's on your cell phone or off of your desktop, laptop, iPad. You all get the notification that a message has come through. You can limit who can respond to that. I know a lot of stores, there are certain technicians that are absolutely phenomenal at responding to customers. And there are some technicians that you probably don't want them to send a response of your machine's a POS, go ahead and replace it. And you want to block that person out from sending a response. And so that's where we really can customize it on who can respond, who can send just, pre-generated messages, and who just, listen, your box is blocked out and you're not able to respond at all. And so that's where we really customize that to that one. But anyone tied on that work order would get a notification. And then we have it set up for some stores where if, a text message has gone more than, we'll say, 15 minutes, the service manager can get a notification, or a management selected person can get a notification to make sure that those messages aren't missed, or if it's someone's day off, to where they're getting responded to in a timely fashion and they're not essentially being ignored on a text message and a phone call.
Well, with that, thank you, Ryan, for joining us today and for the presentation. Like I mentioned earlier, today's presentation and audio will be available on the Farm Equipment website in the event you want to go back and watch it, or have anyone else at the dealership watch it. We should have that replay out to you within the next 48 hours, if not sooner. On behalf of Ryan, the Modern team, and the Farm Equipment staff, thanks for joining us for today's webinar. Feel free to reach out to me if there's any topics you'd like us to cover in the future. And a small survey should pop up when you leave. Please let us know of any topics you want us to talk about. And thank you for joining us. Have a great day.
Thanks everybody. Appreciate the time.